Ooh, what a fun industry we are in! Just as the layoffs are happening left and right, and MMOs are burning up into smoke as well as being cut in half, all you need to do to give people a heart attack is make the head of the Riot MMO tweet during these times. But thankfully, the situation is good and the Riot MMO still stands. And hopefully will stand. So, a few days ago, there was a pretty awful wave of some pretty bad news. I mean, Mordog left Riot, which is a piece of news that nobody expected. But a few days before that, Microsoft announced that they are cutting about 3,500 jobs, which included some industry legends. That is also counting Riot's competition, and it was like an earthquake to the MMO genre as a whole. So, the news arrived at the beginning of this month, where Microsoft teased that there might be layoffs happening because they need some kind of a reset. This already made people nervous, and so then, a week later, the big reset actually happened. I mean, yes, Microsoft called it resetting Xbox. And to be honest, it does make sense why they are doing this. I think everyone will agree that Xbox has been quite behind on the entire console game. I mean, the last Xbox that actually competed was what? Xbox 360? Because everything after that was just a PC in disguise. And when it comes to the first party titles, what do they have again? The last time they tried to do something there was with Halo, which also didn't land exactly well. And so it was obvious that Xbox had to figure out a new path forward that would actually get them to any kind of a profit. And well, it seems like the right path forward will not be through supporting endless counts of AAA studios. No, instead, the future possibly lies in mobile games. And this came out of the post where they confirmed that ever since 2018, Xbox had invested into a lot of AAA studios as well as a lot of indies. But with the majority of these acquisitions, Xbox lost about 64 cents for every dollar invested. In other words, they were in the negative for quite a while. Which meant that Xbox realized that they were essentially leaking money all over the place. And buying more AAA studios wasn't exactly the right move. Although they did mention that this entire reset might help indie studios. And let's be honest, it's because indies are a lot cheaper, so Xbox will have a lot easier time turning that into profit. Anyway, more importantly for us, the rest of the post talks about reductions across other units. These include Activision, Bethesda and ZeniMax, Blizzard, King, Mojang, and the Xbox Game Studios. Now, with this announced, they did confirm that none of their first-party projects are getting cancelled with any of these reductions. Which is where we need to pause for a moment. Now, when it comes to Activision, it makes sense why this happened. They didn't exactly have a good streak of releases lately. Then, when it comes to Mojang and King, we'll mention those in a moment. But then there are also Bethesda, with ZeniMax specifically, and Blizzard. Now, Blizzard, of course, is the company behind the MMO genre leading game. And so far, we haven't heard anything from Blizzard yet, which could be because during these announces, the studios usually learn about all the layoffs the day it happens. So we are yet to learn what actually happened at Blizzard. Needless to say, once again, MMOs are getting impacted. But besides this, there is also Bethesda with specifically ZeniMax, which is the partner responsible for the online sides of their games. Meaning, we are very specifically talking about Elder Scrolls Online. And here, we already heard about what happened. It turns out ESO, one of the big MMOs out there, lost about 300 devs. Meaning that once again, two of the big MMOs on the market are in danger. In fact, it seems like the overall messaging from Microsoft is that Xbox is kinda done with live services. They can see that live services in AAAs are a big risk that they don't want to deal with anymore. And as to what other projects are currently in the focus, well, that's where Mojang and King come back. Apparently now, these two studios will report directly to the CEO, with Mojang, of course, being behind Minecraft, and King being the developer behind Candy Crush. So the mobile game is kinda the leading game right now. Now what's even funnier is that they also tease that Minecraft can be used to fund all the other projects. So Minecraft might actually start doing something. Now, of course, besides this, because we are talking about the Xbox Game Studios, those also include id Software. You know, the guys responsible for Doom, one of the best shooters on the market currently, where, to be honest, the new Doom wasn't that much of a hit because of some gameplay differences and also a $100 price. However, it is funny to see that half of the entire id studio was cut the day the new Doom is releasing a new DLC. What a way to celebrate the game. But then the rest of the post then goes into how they wanna handle the future of Xbox at Microsoft. And now they are investing, and I quote, with greater focus, greater discipline, and greater clarity. All in service of Xbox, where the world plays and creates. Now, what does that mean? I have no idea, but the last part of the post makes it even more hilarious. I want Xbox to be one of the few companies that entertains more than 1 billion people each day, and gives everyone the opportunity to create and connect. I know we can achieve this goal. Xbox has many of the most beloved franchises in entertainment history, talented studios around the world, and we will return to growth in 2027. History is full of companies that mistake longevity for inevitability. History is full of companies that mistake longevity for inevitability. We will not be one of them. Now, besides the last part sounding like a quote from Warhammer 40k, they mention they want to be one of the few companies around the world that entertain over 1 billion people a day. Now, do you know how many 1 billion is? Bellular actually dove into this, and it turns out Steam as well as Roblox, with all of their daily engagement, reach about 100,000 daily players. Once again, that is the entirety of Steam, as well as Roblox, which is actually bigger than Steam. So it turns out Xbox actually wants to do 10 times that. Also, they talk about a few companies around the world entertaining 1 billion people. I would like to know what companies we are talking about. Like, sure, I would say YouTube probably does that. Google likely, let's say, entertains people. So the question is, does Microsoft wanna do that, or do they actually wanna stay with the gamers? I mean, that's also where we get to the quote where they want people to create and connect. That is their closing line at Xbox. No games, no gameplay mentioned. We are supposed to be creating and connecting people. That is the future of Xbox. So overall, it seems like it is not a great time to be a bigger studio that's making games. And once again, the state of MMOs is crumbling as Riot still stands. I mean, let's have a look at the MMO portfolio. Ashes of Creation, one of the biggest Kickstarter MMOs, dead. Project Ghost, who was considered one of the biggest rivals for the Riot MMO, dead. Destiny 2, dubbed one of the only MMO FPSs on the market, done with development. And now Blizzard is trying to push against this with Classic Plus. But even their devs are shaking as we learn who got laid off. And Guild Wars are actually one of the only ones who even announced a new MMO. So it is a dangerous thing to be a game developer right now, and it's even worse to be an MMO. Statistically, most MMOs die. But luckily for the Riot MMO fans, it seems like Riot is aware of the dangers, and they did confirm that they are holding their ground. With the news originally coming out of Fabrice, the executive producer behind the MMO. This week brought more layoffs, closures, restructures to our changing industry. Passionate game makers finding themselves without a professional home. Now, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. When I read this first sentence, I got a heart attack, because it did seem like the Riot MMO would also go through some cuts. But no! The Riot MMO is good. Despite all of it, something hasn't changed. All over the world, in every demographic, players want to be immersed in worlds that make them feel whole and alive. They want play, mastery, belonging. That demand keeps growing with every generation born into games, and so do their expectations. These worlds will continue to be brought to life by the dreamers and the builders, by those who stay focused on a mission when the ground shifts under them. Tools, processes, and business models will change. But every game that matters in the coming years will still be made by designers, artists, engineers, producers, marketers, and every craft in between who care too much to ship something hollow. We do not choose the era in which we find ourselves, but we keep building anyway. We don't make games because we can, but because we have to. Hang in there and see you in Runeterra. See? That's how you write a closing sentence, Xbox. But also, he said it! See you in Runeterra, which confirms this game is definitely coming out. And when some people replied with concerns, of course, Fabrice replied back with his iconic eyes. Which kinda means one thing. Riot is still confident that the Riot MMO is gonna be out, which is very good to hear. But should the Riot MMO actually fail, with their game being one of the last MMOs on the line, I am pretty sure it means that the MMO genre as a whole is just gonna be done until someone else accidentally finds an evolution of it. Because if this massive project fails as well, it kinda confirms that AAAs having a live service in them is not exactly a fresh concept that the players wanna see. And it might even confirm that the actual path forward will be going indie. Because time and time again, indie games are blowing up much more than AAAs. And so who knows, maybe Riot's path forward is actually gonna turn them into a publisher. See, all roads lead back to Riot Forge.